Hello, welcome to my channel. This is Awakened Taurus 1111. This video is going to be about the difference between astronomy and astrology. Okay, so let's get right in. So there is a great divide in between astronomy and astrology. And I've wrote up here a definition of each one. So astronomy is the study of the universe and its contents outside the Earth's atmosphere to examine the positions, motions, and properties of celestial objects. Okay, so that's the definition for astronomy. The definition for astrology is the study of how the positions, motions, and properties of celestial objects affect people and events on Earth. So astrology is more how it affects Earth and the people here on Earth, the celestial objects, and astronomy is more the actual objects and study of the objects themselves. For instance, they try to find out how large is the sun, what's the surface temperature of the sun, okay, how far away is our closest star. So these are all observations that astronomy tries to figure out, and just for the knowledge of it, our closest star is outside of the sun. It's Proxima Centauri, and it's 4.2 light years away, okay? Our minds really don't even comprehend how far 4.2 light years is away. I mean, it's traveling at the speed of light for 4.2 years. I mean, it's a long way away. But in the expanse of the universe itself, it's not really that big of a distance when you think about how far another galaxy is away from us. So all these are studies of things. I'm very interested in this kind of stuff. So it's kind of rare because you get that divide. People that are more into astronomy tend to stay away from astrology, and vice versa. So I'm kind of one of those rarities that enjoy both of the subjects. Also in astronomy, it's a lot more logic based. So in other words, they try to use the scientific method to prove things. So you'll have a person or a group may have a hypothesis on how something is, and they do an experiment to try to prove or disprove that particular theory or hypotenuse that they're trying to come up with, okay? So, for instance, most people have heard of the Big Bang Theory. The theory is that at one point there was a large explosion. Things started to settle down after thousands and thousands of years. Gravity took place, and then life was able to eventually be created on its own. Okay, so it's now this is a general statement, but for the most part, people who study astronomy don't really believe in intelligent design. Okay, they don't believe in a God. They believe that things came about on their own. Okay, and they're always in the search of other life because of that fact. They don't believe that the Earth specifically is anything special, that a holy entity would come down and create life here. They more of think, well, the Earth is positioned in a certain way that it does support life. Let's look outside of that, of our solar system, and let's find other areas in the universe that could possibly support life. So you think about where the Earth is positioned. We are in a perfect spot for water, H2O, to liquefy. If we were too, much further out or closer in, then, it would either be too cold if we were too far out, or it would be too hot if we were too close. Like for instance, if we were on the planet of Mercury, we'd literally almost be boiling. Because we're so close to the sun, it would be so hot, and it would be very hard for life to be able to sustain itself there in that kind of environment. So astronomy, the people that study astronomy, go out into the universe and they take those type of aspects that we know of our own solar system, and they look and they try to prove that, okay, this star has this planet this far away, can it support life? Now, obviously, the sun, when you think about the sun is only a medium-sized star. So if another system of planets with a star had a larger star, then you could obviously probably be further away from that star and still get the same amount of heat and life-supporting energy that we get from the sun. So those aspects all have to go into the ratios that they look at. But they're always looking for other places that could support life. You know, water is it's a precious resource here on Earth. Even within our planet, fresh water is really, it's rare. Most of the water that's on our planet is obviously ocean water, which has salt in it. So fresh water is really a precious resource. And so looking for that and finding that out in other planets is a big thing. And then obviously looking at the atmosphere and, you know, the temperature, would it support life? So that's a lot of what astronomy is. So I don't want to say that they disprove intelligent, or that they try to disprove intelligent life, but it's just not part of the thinking. It's not part of the meat of what astronomy is. It's more of logic-based things that you can physically prove. So a lot of things in the spiritual realm, they're much harder to prove outside of your own experiences, that you prove it to yourself a lot of times. So that's where a lot of the difference is. Now into astrology. So astrology, they take the same objects, the celestial objects, and how are they affecting people? How are they affecting Earth? And, you know, a big thing with astrology is your natal chart. You know, what sign is your sun in? What sign is your moon in? What sign are your planets in? And so the theory there is these things affect humans, and they have tendencies and traits that you will gravitate towards. Now keep in mind that even a person with the same sign can have high vibrational and low vibrational traits within that same sign, depending on, are you a positive person? You know, do you approach life positively? So whatever you put out into the universe, if you're putting positive vibes out, positive vibes are going to come back in. That's the theory. And you're going to gravitate towards the high vibrational traits of that particular sign. Now, if you're on the flip side and you're a negative person, you're going to, you know, when you're putting out negative vibes, you're going to get negative vibes back, and you're going to gravitate towards the low vibrational traits of that particular sign. So you can't just say, oh, well, you're an earth sign and you do this. No, it's not that simple. It's much more detailed than that. You really have to dig in and, you know, really somebody that understands and looks at it. The way I've been able to accept it, because I'm a very logic-based person myself, is seeing how it affects me. Learning about the different signs, learning about, okay, what would it mean if my Mercury was in this sign? Or what would it mean if my Jupiter was in this sign? And then you apply that to your life. You look, okay, well, this is what I would gravitate towards. And then you could see with the high and low vibrational frequencies of how you're approaching life. And then you start to look at it and say, yeah, I think that's true. You know, I do gravitate towards that. And so then you start to build that confidence and, okay, this stuff really could be true. And so that's where you start looking into it. Now, astrology is not the only thing, in my opinion, that makes up who you are as a person, okay? Obviously, you know, if you're raised in two different environments, you're going to take on tendencies of your environments, of how you're raised. Certain people could go through tragedies or different life experiences that completely make you think about things a different way. Sometimes when somebody has went through something tragic, they appreciate so much more that particular type of event, not only for themselves, but they have more humility and they understand it for other people and what they may be going through. So that is all part of who we are. That's all the makeup of who we are. Okay. And then also, I believe human beings have free will. You have the choice. Every day you have choices. So in my opinion, a lot of that plays into it. Scientifically, from the astronomy side of it, the only way you could really prove it from the way they look at things is you would have to take a person that was born at the exact same time and day, and then clone them, and have another person born at the exact same time and day, put them in two different environments, or put them in the same environment at different locations, and see how they turn out. Do they turn out the same? Do they have the same tendencies? Because there's so much complexity in the natal chart itself. It's just not about a sun sign or zodiac sign. There's so many different variations of planets and years you were born and what was going on astrologically during that time. So it's so much different and so much detail that you have to really dig into to understand what it is. But if you're interested in it and you take the time to learn about it, I'm pretty confident you'll start to see these traits and tendencies are very prominent with certain things. Like you can, something easily. I'm an earth sign, so talk to any earth sign. In other words, a Taurus, a Virgo, or a Capricorn, and ask them if stability is important to them. I bet you're not going to find one of those signs that I'm saying their sun is in that sign that does not think stability is important. In fact, you're probably going to find that that's one of the most important things to that person, because that is just a physical structure of who they are. And so you can look at different things like that on all the signs. There's all kinds of information. I've done a lot of videos. If you want to go watch my other videos, if this is the only video that you've watched of mine, go watch your specific zodiac sign. Go watch my other videos that explain about moon signs and ascendant signs and what they mean. And then apply it to your life. Is this something I might gravitate towards, and look at your own life. And then that's the way you can prove it to yourself. Because there is in my opinion, to astrology, there is a spiritual side to it. Astrology is much more open to, there is a possibility of intelligent design. There is a possibility that there's a divine presence, that there's angels, and that they're involved in our lives. Not only are the celestial objects themselves that have energies, magnetisms, different things that they're putting out energy into the universe, but also there's intelligent beings that are involved. And it kind of brings that all together into one subject. Some of the popular things that astrology looks into are retrogrades. If you want to know more about retrogrades, I've made a couple of videos on them. I have a Mercury retrograde video specifically, and then I also have other planetary retrogrades. But in essence of what it is, the inner planets like Mercury and Venus, they go around the sun faster than the Earth. So sometimes they actually lap the Earth. It happens more often with Mercury because Mercury's path around the sun is only 88 days. So it's going around the sun a lot faster than most planets. So it's probably the most well-known, the most talked about, even outside of astrology. In the mainstream media, a lot of times you'll hear, oh, it's Mercury retrograde, and you'll hear about the effects of it and things it does. Retrogrades in themselves are the position of the planet to the other planet, and the energy source that it normally would be putting out changes. Now there's some things that you can look at that you could prove, you know, there are certain things that change. You could look at, for instance, sometimes when Mercury is coming in and out of station, in and out of direct energy, going into a retrograde or a shadow effect, it can affect satellites. So then it affects communication. Mercury is the planet of communication. You know, I've seen where cell phone towers and communication go down. You know, it just affects so many things. Energy levels of people, especially if your sign is in a that's ruled by Mercury, it'll affect your energy levels. So there's a lot of things personally that you can look at into your own life and start to prove these things to yourself. But you have to be open-minded. You have to be willing to go and look at it. If you just shut it off and say, well, it's not true, then, you know, everybody has their own opinion on things, but you're not, at the same time, you're not giving it its justification to see whether or not it is true. But you really, to understand things, if you don't know what you're looking at, it can be really confusing because it's so detailed that you almost need someone to help you to look at really what you're trying to find out. If you're on that fence of, well, I don't know if I believe this stuff or not, and that's fine. So some other things that we look at are like solar and lunar eclipses and how they affect people. Solar eclipses are thought to more affect like governments and higher level people, leaders. Lunar eclipses are more thought to affect like people, like normal people. So the energies of where that particular eclipse is occurring, so if it's occurring in a sign of Cancer or something like that, those energies will be different depending on where they're actually, what sign they're actually in when the eclipse occurs. Okay. And then obviously, like I've already mentioned, a sun sign, a moon sign, and then planet signs. So there's so many different signs that a person can be in. You really have to kind of know what you're looking at and then investigate it. You know, there's a lot of information out there you can go and find. I've made many videos. I'm thinking about maybe making some videos on like if your moon sign falls in a certain sign or if your Venus falls in a certain sign. All those things change and they all impact you in different ways. So it's really interesting to look at and to get into. I hope this has explained the difference in between the two. If there's anything that I left out, is there any questions or things that one of my viewers might want to learn more about? Leave me a comment down below. I'm willing to discuss things and to look into things. If you haven't already joined my channel, please subscribe. And I thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.